Hello everyone and welcome. In this video I'm going to be sharing my thoughts on the first episode of NOS4A2. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Anyway, as is the norm in my videos, I won't be holding back on any spoilers, so please do keep that in mind. Anyway, without further ado, let's begin. As someone who isn't at all familiar with the source material behind this show, I had no idea what to expect going into it. And now, having watched the first episode, I still don't really know what to expect. I mean, the programme opens by introducing us to a kid called Daniel who is clearly neglected by his parents. His parents are then murdered by an assassin with some kind of poison, I'm assuming, in a syringe. And meanwhile, whilst this is happening, Daniel is lured outside to a Rolls Royce that's playing Christmas music, which is also full of presents. He's then kidnapped by the creepy monster driver of the car called Charlie, who tells him that he's going to take him to Christmas Land. And then the opening credits play. And no, before you ask, I haven't taken any drugs. This is what actually happens in the first couple of minutes of this show. So yeah, the opening to NOS4A2 is absolutely mad, and I think these opening 5 minutes will be make or break for a lot of people. There's going to be some people who sit there and watch this and think, what the hell is going on, and then just give up because it's too weird for them. And there's going to be other people who also think to themselves, what the hell is going on, but just want to watch it because they're intrigued by how absurd it all is. And I fall into the second camp. To be honest, I didn't have the foggiest clue what was going on during this introduction, but I can't say that the concept of a Rolls Royce driving, child snatching, creepy old man monster doesn't intrigue me, because it does. Maybe that just means I'm a bloody weirdo. Well, I mean, I am, there's no denying that, but still, I like weird stuff, and this opening hooked me. Like I said, for some people it might just turn them off and they might think, what the hell is this? This is too strange for me, and I completely understand that. After this very odd introduction, much of the rest of the episode turns its attention to main character Vic, who, like Daniel, also has a bit of a shitty home life. Vic's mum shoots down her dream of going to art college and instead wants her to work for a cleaning business once she's finished high school, and her dad, well, he's a drunk waste of space who hits his mum and cheats on her. So yeah, not the ideal place for a kid to grow up in, I'm sure you would agree. One thing I think this episode deserves a ton of praise for is how it plays with the perception of Vic's parents. Well, at least for me it did anyway. At the beginning, I had it set in my mind that Vic's mum was a complete arsehole. I mean, she's constantly putting her down and saying that she can't go to college whilst trying to make her join her cleaning business, which quite frankly she's clearly not interested in. Her dad, on the other hand, he seems like this cool motorcycle riding father who all the other kids at school would probably wish were their parent, and he clearly likes spending time with his daughter, so I thought he was quite a cool guy. As the episode progresses, my opinion on Vic's parents changed completely. I mean, I still think that her mum is a bit too quick to shoot down her dreams to go to college. I mean, she even dismisses the idea of her getting financial aid without really even giving it a chance. But by the end of the episode, I saw her as a hard-working mum who's just worried about trying to afford food for her family. Vic's dad, on the other hand, went from being this cool dad that, you know, people would love to have as their dad, to being a guy who just puts on a front to try and look good in front of others, when in actual fact he's a wife beater and he cheats on her as well. And yeah, the guy's just a douchebag. But at first I thought he was this cool hipster dad, but no, he's just an arsehole who wants people to try and think he's cool. And I think it's interesting that I felt this way because Vic also goes on a similar journey with how she perceives her mum and dad. At the start of the episode she's clearly a daddy's girl, but by the end of it she comes to see him for what he's really like. And I think the fact that I felt the same as Vic did during this episode meant I could really connect with her. There's also another moment involving Rick that really resonated with me, and it probably won't have the same effect on others as it's quite personal to me, but I'll explain it to you anyway as it might help better understand why I like her so much. So there's a scene in which Vic is at a friend's party and she begins to hang around with a group of teens who seem to have their heads stuck firmly up their arses. Vic answers one of the questions from the teens about what her parents do for a living, and it's at this point that this dickhead said something along the lines of, "You're clever, aren't you? I thought your parents would be clever too." And basically what this guy is trying to insinuate is that because Vic's mum and dad have these sort of manual labour jobs, they must be stupid. And that pisses me off. I want to punch this guy in the face. Before coming into the job that I do currently, I spent about 3 years working in an online warehouse, and basically all I did was load people's orders into the back of vans which would then be delivered to people. Now, going by what that guy said, that would mean that I'm dumb, but I'm not dumb, it's just that at the time the job suited my lifestyle, and you know what, I didn't actually mind it for a certain amount of time. It was alright, it was an okay job. So yeah, that really pisses me off that this guy has this view that everyone who does sort of manual labour jobs is an idiot, because they're not. They're clearly not. And I want to strangle this guy. I know he's just an actor, but yeah, it really made me angry hearing him say that, and I felt for Vic immensely. So basically, this guy can get fucked. Another reason why this scene in particular had such a big impact on me is because I've come from a similar background to Vic, and not in the sense that my mum and dad were arseholes. Well, my dad's a bit of a dickhead, but I'll leave that. That's something for another day. What I mean is I come from a similar financial background to her. So I'm from a working class background, my parents don't have a lot of money, and for my secondary education I ended up going to a grammar school. Now for those who aren't aware, in England, I don't know if it's UK or if it is just in England, so I'll just say England for now. In England, when you reach the last year of primary school, you can choose to sit a test called the 11+, and basically what that means is this is a test that tests your English and your maths skills, and if you pass it you can go to a grammar school, and in theory you're supposed to be at a school for gifted people where you can learn sort of at a higher rate and, you know, go and achieve better things in life, blah blah blah. Now I just want to come out and say that I wasn't, you know, particularly picked on or bullied or anything at school, but I did find the grammar school to be full of elitist arseholes who thought they were better than you because their dad was a doctor and they had a swimming pool in their house. And I completely get where Vic's coming from. She's the poor kid here trying to go to college, trying to mix in with all these kids who think they're better than her just because they have more money, and you know, that's kind of what I felt like as a teenager. So yeah, I'm not trying to come up with a sob story and make you feel sorry for poor Josh, because I've done pretty well for myself, I think, and I'm quite happy. But yeah, just to let you know that that's why I really connected with Vic, and I don't think, well, I don't know, but I don't think there'll be a lot of people. There might be a lot of people who have a similar experience to me, I don't know, but what I'm saying is I don't expect everyone to immediately have this connection with her like that I do. So maybe that's why I really like her, despite only having seen her for one episode. So yeah, by some sheer coincidence, I can really relate to her. Anyway, moving on from me having a rant about the English education system, what else actually happens to Vic this episode? Well, Vic does spend a lot of time on her motorcycle as she tries to escape her troubled life at home, and she ends up going to this wooden bridge on numerous occasions. Now, I don't know exactly what the deal is with this bridge, but it seems to act as some kind of portal as it takes her to different locations. In one instance, her dad loses his watch and she goes through the bridge and ends up in the restaurant where he left the watch, and then she can return it to him. In another instance, near the end of the episode, Vic's mum tells her that her dad is cheating on her, at which point Vic doesn't believe her, so again then storms off in a motorcycle, and she goes through the bridge and ends up immediately outside this sort of cabin house type thing where her dad is cheating on her mum with another woman. If that isn't strange enough, it's confirmed multiple times by other characters that this bridge was actually knocked down before Vic was even born. And I haven't even mentioned the changing graffiti that appears on the bridge when Vic goes through it, which seems to reference places or people that are important to her. Oh, and her going through the bridge also seems to open up some kind of connection to the weird guy Charlie who was seen at the start of the episode. So what does this all mean? I don't bloody know. Why are you asking me? I ain't got a clue. So it's obvious that Charlie is somehow able to connect with troubled children and children who are neglected, and I think that perhaps Vic is his next victim, or at least he wants Vic to be his next victim. As for why he would help Vic transport to other places, I don't know, and maybe in fact the bridge might not even be anything to do with him. It could just be another form of magic, as there are sort of other instances of magic, if it is even called magic in this universe. Anyway, there are other instances of weird happenings and magic in the show, which I'll get to in a moment. I don't really have an answer as to what the hell Vic experienced this episode, but, you know, it's the first episode, and I'm sure more will be revealed as it goes on, and I'm quite looking forward to it. By the end of the episode, Charlie ends up looking a lot younger, and poor Daniel, well, just see for yourself. He looks like a mess, quite frankly. Charlie seems to be using these kids that he takes to Christmas Land, well, if there even is a Christmas Land, to somehow prolong his life. And as I said earlier, I think he's got his eyes on Vic next. I have to say that I didn't think having Daniel explicitly point out to the viewer through his dialogue that Charlie was getting younger was really needed, because I think the majority of us would have noticed that. But that's just a little complaint of mine, really. So I mentioned a moment ago that there's other people who use magic or have abilities in the show, and this lady here can use Scrabble tiles to tell her where people are. Yeah, that's a thing apparently, and she's also used these tiles to solve a police case in the past. So there you go. Super. I might be wrong, but I don't actually remember anyone saying her name this episode. I mean, maybe the policeman did, but that's why I'm calling her by lady, because I don't know her name. So please let me know her name below. I would Google it, but I don't want to Google her name, sorry, and then get a ton of spoilers. So yeah, please just let me know her name, and sorry because I don't remember it. Based on what I've seen this episode, I think she's probably the weakest of the three main protagonists, who I assume to be her, Daniel and Vic, but I think that's only because we haven't really seen a lot of her. She's probably got the least screen time compared to the other two this episode. She still seems like an interesting, quirky character, and I want to find out what her magic Scrabble bag is all about and how she can, you know, put her arm in there and her arm disappears. Quite a cool trick. And yeah, I want to see more of her. And I predict that she's going to play a bigger role in the coming episodes. Overall, I have to say that I rather enjoyed NOS4A2's premiere. I find myself wanting to learn more about the world that it's set in, as well as the answers to many of its mysteries. I have to say that I like Vic a lot, and maybe that's just because I see myself in her, and I might like her more than other people do at this moment in time, I don't know. But yeah, all I can say is that this was a very enjoyable premiere. I didn't know what it was going to be about, and then to find out it's about some crazy dude who wants to use kids to prolong his life and go to Christmas land, and yeah, it's crazy, but it somehow works. It reminded me a bit of like Twin Peaks. You just sort of have to accept that there's weird stuff happening, don't really question it, and then if you can get into it, it seems quite interesting. So I liked it. I liked it, and I would say give it a go. I think it's going to be a kind of a Marmite show. People will love it, people will hate it, and yeah, just see what you think. Just watch the first episode. You might like it, you might be intrigued, or you might just think, what is this nonsense? Yeah, so it's hard to sort of recommend it to people, because I think it's going to be a very 50-50 split of those who do like it and who don't like it, but I like it, and yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing the next episode. So thank you again everyone for watching. Please let me know below your views and opinions on this, and please let me know if I pronounced the show's name correctly and that lady's name. And as always, thank you very much for watching, and until next time, take care, goodbye, have a good weekend.